Babes, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and honestly, if you are staring into the dark corner of your bedroom right now, completely convinced that the pile of laundry draped over your chair is actually a man in a trench coat, do not turn on the light.
Yeah, please don't.
I repeat, do not turn on the light, because the moment you do, you have to admit that watching like 6 straight hours of a true crime series right before bed has completely destroyed your grip on reality.
I mean, it's just the pareidolia kicking in. That's that psychological thing where your brain is basically hardwired to find familiar patterns, specifically human faces in random objects.
Well, my brain is finding a serial killer in my sweatpants.
Right, because when you're sleep deprived and your amygdala is completely hyperstimulated from all the true crime, your brain doesn't just see a shadow, it actively builds a predator out of it. It's a defense mechanism.
Well, my defense mechanism is currently making me want to hide under the covers forever. But honestly, Snark Squad, if you are listening to this right now, wrapped up in a blanket and clutching your pepper spray, you are in the exact right place.
You really are.
We are right there with you. The vibe for tonight's conversation is late-night paranoia. It's dark, it's messy, and we are unpacking an episode of television that is, like, essentially a masterclass in making you feel insane.
Which is exactly why I prepared smoked old fashions for us tonight. I felt like the smokiness was super appropriate for the campfire energy we've got going on.
Oh, it smells so good.
Right, it's heavy. So cheers to simply making it safely into the studio tonight without, sprinting from the car to the front door and jumping at our own shadows.
Cheers to that, babes. And honestly, my nervous system is completely fried right now. I had an incident yesterday that I just have to share with you because immersing ourselves in this Cape Fear stuff is literally bleeding into my everyday life.
Oh, boy, what happened?
Okay, picture this. It's like 6:30 p.m. I just finished work, and I decide to make a quick, innocent run to Target.
Oh, no. The liminal space of a big box store after dark, I mean, that is a psychological trap in and of itself.
It truly is. And I went in for one single item, paper towels. That was the entirety of the mission. But there's something deeply, deeply unsettling about the environment in those stores.
The fluorescent lighting.
Yes. You walk through those sliding doors, the bright lights hit you, and suddenly you just enter this weird, dissociative fugue state. I went in for paper towels, and somehow I left with 12 things I absolutely did not need.
Let me guess, candles and throw pillows.
I bought a velvet throw pillow and a candle that smells like, I don't know, an autumn bonfire. Why does Target lighting convince you that you suddenly need an entirely new home decor aesthetic?
Well, I mean, that's actually by design. Retail architecture is structured to induce what they call decision fatigue.
Wait, really? It's on purpose?
Oh, totally. The lighting is calibrated to keep you slightly overstimulated. They take out all the clocks and windows so you lose your sense of time, kind of like a casino.
That is so toxic.
Right, so by the time you reach the back of the store for your paper towels, your prefrontal cortex is completely exhausted. So you buy the velvet pillow. Honestly, it's a debate whether Target is actually a store or just a millennial personality trait at this point.
Okay, that makes me feel slightly better about my lack of impulse control. But here is where the paranoia really spiraled out of control for me.
I'm ready.
I had to walk down the seasonal Halloween aisle to get to the checkout. And keep in mind, my brain has been marinating in stalking and complex revenge plots all week for this recount.
Oh, this is a recipe for disaster.
I am walking past these 12-foot animatronic ghouls and decorative skeletons, and I legitimately started feeling like someone was hunting me.
You thought you were being stalked in the Halloween aisle.
I was checking my reflection in the glass of the frozen food section, like just to see if anyone was walking behind me. I was executing tactical evasive maneuvers around the end caps.
So you were employing counter-surveillance tactics next to the frozen pizzas?
Exactly. I was absolutely convinced someone was tracking me past the Reese's Pumpkins. It sounds ridiculous saying it out loud, but the terror was so real in my body.
It's not entirely ridiculous, honestly. When you saturate your media diet with narratives of hidden threats, you basically lower your threshold for what your brain considers dangerous.
So I primed myself to be terrified of a soccer mom buying frozen waffles.
Pretty much. You primed your reticular activating system to look for stalkers. So an innocent shopper walking in the same direction suddenly triggers a massive adrenaline dump.
Okay, that perfectly explains it. And it actually got me thinking about how everyday, totally mundane situations become paralyzingly terrifying when you're in a true crime spiral.
Oh, everyday situations are the scariest.
Right. So I have a few scenarios, and I want to play a game. What's the creepiest non-creepy thing? I want to break down exactly why these things suddenly feels so sinister.
Let's do it. I'm always ready to overanalyze the mundane.
Okay, scenario one. Imagine you are walking to your car at night, the parking lot is mostly empty, and there is someone walking exactly 10 paces behind you, perfectly matching your speed.
Oh, that's terrible. Analytically, though, it's just a matter of pacing and geometry.
Geometry doesn't make it less scary.
No, I know, but like, if you are both heading toward a cluster of cars, naturally your paths will align. But the evolutionary response is what gets you. Humans are apex predators, but we are uniquely vulnerable to being hunted by our own kind.
Yes. You feel like prey.
Exactly. When someone matches your pace, they are staying in your blind spot. It triggers a primal fight-or-flight response because matching a target's speed is the final stage of a pursuit before an ambush.
That makes me want to grip my keys between my fingers like Wolverine claws just thinking about it. Okay, scenario two. A knock on your front door when you aren't expecting a delivery, and you literally haven't invited anyone over.
Now, this one is fascinating. 20 years ago, an unannounced knock was just a neighbor wanting to borrow sugar.
Now it causes instant cardiac arrest.
Totally.
Yeah.
Today, we have constant digital connectivity. If you didn't text me that you were arriving, you are violating a major social boundary. The physical barrier of your home is your ultimate safe zone.
And a knock is just like a threat demanding entry.
Right. It creates an information gap, and the human brain hates information gaps. It fills that gap with the worst case scenario.
My brain definitely fills it with an axe murderer every single time. Okay, scenario three. This one always gets me. You're sitting in your living room and your dog, who is usually super chill, suddenly stands up, stares into a completely empty, dark corner of the room, and starts aggressively barking.
Out of all of them, this one has the most biological justification for fear, I would argue.
Really? Because to me, it just means I have a ghost.
Well, animals have vastly superior sensory equipment. A dog can hear up to like 65,000 hertz. They can hear the micro movements of a mouse inside the drywall or the high-frequency hum of failing electronics. If they are barking at a corner, there's a physical stimulus in that corner.
But that's exactly why it's so terrifying. Because I can't see it. My brain instantly jumps to the supernatural or like someone hiding in the crawl space right below the floorboards.
It's the ultimate validation of your paranoia. Your dog is basically looking at you and saying, yes, there is a threat here, and you are too weak to see it.
Thanks for that nightmare fuel. Okay, scenario four. Hearing your house settle upstairs, like a distinct, heavy floorboard creak, when you know for a fact you live alone.
That is usually just thermal expansion and contraction.
Oh, come on. Don't give me the science logic.
I mean, it's true. As the temperature drops at night, the wood in a house contracts, it causes friction at the joints, and you get a creak. It's basic physics.
I know it's physics at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, but at 2 a.m., that is the sound of a home invader wearing tactical boots. Period.
Fair enough.
Okay, final scenario. Seeing the exact same car drive past your living room window 3 times in 20 minutes.
Now that one moves out of psychological priming and into actual suspicious behavior.
It is.
Yeah, in security analysis, there is a baseline logic to vehicle movement. Driving past once means you are lost. Driving past twice means you missed a turn.
And 3 times.
Driving past 3 times indicates you are establishing a pattern of observation. You are casing a target.
So my paranoia is completely justified in that scenario. I would be peering through the blinds, taking down license plate numbers like a crazy person.
As you should. Establishing a timeline and gathering data is the only logical response.
See, you say that so calmly. But if we were being completely 100% honest with ourselves, we would be the absolute worst detectives in the world.
I don't know about that. I think my analytical approach would serve us pretty well.
Oh, really? Let's play this out. Imagine the two of us were assigned our very first major homicide investigation. We pull up to the crime scene. There's yellow tape everywhere. What actually happens?
Well, protocol dictates securing the perimeter first. I would methodically walk the outer edge, looking for trace evidence. You know, low cards exchange principle.
Oh, here we go with the principles.
Every contact leaves a trace. The perpetrator brought something to the scene and they took something away. I'd be looking for tire tracks, shoe prints, discarded receipts.
Stop right there. I know you. You would absolutely not be looking for shoe prints. You would be sitting in the back of the surveillance van, and you would immediately get distracted by the logistical inefficiency of the snack inventory.
I mean, snacks are important for morale.
You'd be staring at the shelves going, where are the Cool Ranch chips mixed with the pretzels? This system is flawed.
Meanwhile, the prime suspect literally casually strolls right past the windshield.
Look, I will defend the necessity of logistical organization during a high-stress operation. You cannot maintain cognitive endurance on an unorganized stakeout.
Cognitive endurance.
And what would you be doing, huh?
Oh, I would be a total liability. The moment I stepped over the yellow tape, the pressure would hit me. I would look into the crowd of onlookers, lock eyes with the first civilian who made an awkward facial expression, and I would loudly accuse them on the spot.
You'd arrest an innocent bystander. I would literally point and yell, "Why are you looking at me like that? You're hiding something." Put him in cuffs.
And in doing so, you would cause a mass panic, trample the primary crime scene, and completely destroy the chain of custody for any physical evidence.
I'd probably pick up the murder weapon to look at it closely, realize it was sticky, say ew, and drop it.
You'd ruin every fingerprint.
The defense attorney would have a field day with us. They'd stand up in court and say, "Your Honor, the only fingerprints on this knife belong to the lead investigator who dropped it." We would somehow bumble our way into becoming the prime suspects of our own case.
It does highlight a really interesting phenomenon, though. We consume endless amounts of true crime media, so it gives us the vocabulary of a detective.
Oh yeah, we love saying blunt force trauma.
Right, or luminol. But it gives us absolutely none of the discipline, the emotional regulation, or the procedural rigor required to actually do the job. We just have the illusion of competence.
Well, the illusion is completely shattered for me. But babes, enough about our own irrational paranoia and our lack of law enforcement skills. We need to head into Cape Fear.
Yes, we do.
Because the suspense in this show is suffocating, the families are deeply structurally messy, and every single clue we've been tracking all season is finally colliding. We need to recap episode 9, The Scar.
We are in the penultimate episode. The narrative board is fully set, the pieces have been moving slowly, but now they are striking each other, and the characters are making decisions that range from highly questionable to just completely unhinged.
We have to start right at the top of the episode, Anna's excursion down to Bluff Point, North Carolina. Because before we even get to the psychology of her choices, I need to talk about her wardrobe.
I knew you were going to bring up the suede jacket.
I am absolutely talking about the suede jacket. Anna drives into this gritty, isolated, humid, coastal swamp town to track down Crystal Cady, a woman she knows is deeply unstable. And Anna rolls out of her car wearing this pristine, highly structured, designer suede jacket.
From a practical standpoint, it is a logistical nightmare. Suede in a marine environment. The ambient moisture in the swamp air alone is going to ruin the nap of the leather.
I was sweating just looking at it.
But from a character perspective, it's actually fascinating. Anna is a high-powered, wealthy person who is completely out of her element. Her clothing is her armor. She is wearing that jacket to project authority and control in an environment where she actually has zero leverage.
I get that it's her armor, but it just makes her look like a massive target. She stands out like a sore thumb. And she has absolutely no tactical plan. She doesn't have backup. She just drives into hostile territory, running on pure desperation, knocking on doors.
Which inevitably leads her to the local biker bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the scene inside that bar, Jay, it absolutely broke me.
It is arguably one of the heaviest moments of the season.
We have watched Anna hold her composure together by a frayed thread for 8 episodes while her life is systematically destroyed. She walks into this dark dive bar, and you can physically feel the exhaustion radiating off of her. We know she's been sober for 17 years.
17 years of doing the work, of holding the line.
And she sits down at the sticky bar, she orders a whiskey, and she delivers that line to the bartender. She says, "The devil's already in the door."
That line perfectly encapsulates her psychological state right now. In addiction psychology, there's this concept known as the abstinence violation effect.
Okay, what is that?
Basically, when someone who has maintained strict sobriety for a long time breaks their rule, even slightly, they experience massive cognitive dissonance. They feel like a total failure, and they think, well, the seal is broken, I might as well go all the way.
Well, that makes so much sense.
For Anna, Max Cady has already breached every barrier in her life. He got into her house, he got to her husband, he got to her child. The devil is already inside. In her mind, the worst has already happened, so the protective barrier of her sobriety suddenly feels meaningless.
It's so devastating to watch because you completely understand her logic, but at the same time, I am sitting on my couch practically screaming at the screen. Like, I want to validate her trauma, but Anna, this is wildly reckless.
Yeah, it's not a great tactical move.
You are actively hunting a serial killer's family in their own backyard. This is the absolute worst possible moment to break a 17-year sobriety streak and go on a bender. You need every single brain cell operating at maximum capacity.
Analytically, she is neutralizing herself in enemy territory. Alcohol depresses the central nervous system, it impairs judgment, it slows reaction time, and predictably, because her tolerance is non-existent after 17 years, she completely blacks out.
She fully blacks out
Yeah.
and wakes up the next morning on Crystal's houseboat, and her gun is gone.
Let's unpack the sheer astronomical luck involved in this outcome.
It's insane.
Anna gets blackout drunk in a strange town while searching for a dangerous woman. She is discovered in this vulnerable state by that exact woman, Crystal, who we know has violent tendencies. And instead of waking up at the bottom of the Cape Fear River, Anna wakes up tucked into a bed on the houseboat, physically unharmed, just disarmed.
The plot armor she has in that moment is incredibly thick.
Yeah.
Like Crystal could have ended the entire storyline right there.
She really could have.
But instead, Anna wakes up, and Crystal is just casually sitting out on the dock, drinking a morning beer, fishing, completely unbothered by the fact that she had her enemies sleeping in her bed.
It's a brilliant power play by Crystal, honestly. It shifts the dynamic entirely. Crystal now holds all the cards, she has the weapon, she has the home field advantage, and she has proven that she could have killed Anna, but chose not to.
Establishing dominance before breakfast.
Exactly.
Which leads us to the moment where Anna actually meets the rest of the Cady family. And this is an experience I'm still trying to recover from. Anna goes to the Cady patriarch's house to meet Robert Cady, played by Ron Perlman.
Bringing in an actor with Ron Perlman's specific physical gravity is a masterstroke. The moment he appears on screen with that deep, resonant voice, you instantly understand the origin of Max Cady.
Oh, totally.
The generational trauma and the capacity for violence in that family are immediately palpable. You see the mold that Max was poured into.
But Robert's intimidating presence isn't even the scariest part of that house.
Yeah.
We need to talk about Hester Cady, because the imagery in this scene is going to live in my brain rent-free for the rest of my natural life.
No, it was lot.
Anna walks into this dimly lit, oppressive, musty living room, and Hester is sitting there, clearly suffering from profound dementia. And she is cradling and breastfeeding a plastic baby doll.
It is a highly disturbing visual. It taps directly into the uncanny valley.
Disturbing doesn't even begin to cover it. I was genuinely squirming on my sofa. It is the exact type of terrifying Southern Gothic imagery that makes your skin crawl right off your body.
Yes, that is the exact genre reference.
She actually believes this plastic doll is her daughter, Crystal. It is deeply tragic, but it is viscerally horrifying. It paints a picture of a family that isn't just dysfunctional. They were profoundly sick, like rotting from the inside out, with grief and madness.
That is the hallmark of the Southern Gothic genre. Think of writers like William Faulkner or Flannery O'Connor. The genre relies on grotesque imagery, deeply flawed characters, and decaying settings to expose the underlying moral rot of a family.
Well, they nailed it, because I am horrified.
Hester nursing the doll is a physical manifestation of a mother trying to nurture a past that is dead and gone. It shows how trauma has literally frozen her in time. In dementia patients, object substitution, where a doll is treated as a real infant, is a documented soothing mechanism. But placing it in this dark, oppressive environment twists it into something deeply unsettling.
It just grounds the horror of the show in something so much older and deeper than just Max Cady's revenge plot. Like, the madness is literally in the soil of that property.
It really is.
But while I was hyperfixating on the sheer terror of the doll, there was another interaction happening in that room that was just as dark.
You're referring to Luke.
Yes. Luke. The weird, creepy kid who we saw earlier in the season working as a dog walker, being highly inappropriate with Natalie. Here, we find out he's just this strange young man living at Robert's house.
During their conversation, Robert gets frustrated with Luke, and he casually threatens him to make him behave. He says, very offhandedly, that if Luke doesn't listen, he's going to get crate time.
Ugh, just the phrase crate time makes my stomach turn.
What makes it horrifying is the casual nature of the delivery. It's a completely normalized part of their household vocabulary.
Right, like he's threatening to put him in timeout, but it's a dog crate.
Exactly. Earlier in the season, Crystal admitted the deeply traumatic detail that she grew up being literally locked in dog crates by her father as punishment. This throwaway line confirms that the cycle of extreme child abuse hasn't stopped.
It's still happening to Luke.
It's multi-generational. In the study of epigenetics, we learn that severe trauma can actually alter the way genes are expressed in subsequent generations. Luke is being subjected to the exact same tortures that created Max and Crystal.
My best analogy for watching this family operate is when you go to one of those extreme, immersive haunted house attractions for Halloween.
Oh, the ones where they touch you.
Yes. The ones where you have to sign a legal waiver because the actors are allowed to grab you and pull you into the dark.
I would never sign that waiver in a million years. Why would anyone do that?
Exactly, because it's a terrible idea. You walk through the front door, and within 3 seconds, you realize you've made a catastrophic mistake. Your instincts are screaming at you that you need to leave immediately for your own safety. But you are so paralyzed by the sheer dysfunction and terror unfolding in front of you that you just stand there, unable to look away.
That's a great analogy.
That is exactly what watching the Cady family feels like.
Yeah.
You just want to reach through the screen, grab Anna by those suede lapels, and scream, "Get out of the house!"
But of course she doesn't get out. She doubles down. She teams up with Crystal, and they decide to go snooping in Amy Brancato's old trailer.
Amy, the former girlfriend.
Right. The one who took the fall for the murder 17 years ago and then died by suicide in prison.
And this brings us to a scene that I know you have some serious logistical issues with.
I have massive logistical issues with the exposition box.
It was literally just sitting right there, in the middle of the floor.
It is a glorious trope in its sheer convenience, and I'm highly critical of it. Anna and Crystal break into this trailer, which has theoretically been abandoned or sealed for years, and right in the dead center of the room is a neatly curated, perfectly preserved cardboard box containing every single piece of evidence Anna needs to crack a cold case.
You even had dust on it for effect.
It's as if villains and victims are contractually obligated to leave a physical scrapbook of their crimes for the protagonist to stumble upon.
Yes. Here is my murder memory book, complete with glossy photos and a timeline of events. I mean, it is incredibly convenient, I will admit that. But let's actually look at the contents of that scrapbook, because the photos inside drop some massive game-changing clues.
They absolutely do. Let's break down the evidence found in the box.
Okay, detective.
First, there are photos proving that Crystal and Max's murdered wife, Melissa, were actually close friends. This is a massive hidden connection. Second, there is a photograph of Melissa playing with a baby, and that baby has a very distinct, massive surgical scar on his abdomen.
Which is the name of the episode, The Scar.
Exactly. And finally, Anna notices in the photos that Melissa is wearing a very specific, unique key necklace.
And Crystal's wearing that exact same key necklace around her neck in the present day. It's a trophy.
Yes. In criminology, taking a trophy or a souvenir from a victim is a common psychological behavior. It allows the killer to prolong the fantasy thing of the murder and relive the event long after the act is committed. Wearing it openly like that is an extreme display of dominance.
And this is where all the puzzle pieces finally snap together and the massive twist of the season is revealed.
It fundamentally recontextualizes the entire narrative of the show. Earlier in the season, Max told a chilling, cryptic story about a woman named Leela, who he seduced, manipulated, and ultimately destroyed.
I remember that. It was so creepy.
If you connect the timelines and the names, it becomes horrifyingly clear. Crystal's full name is Crystal Delilah Cady. Crystal is Leela.
Meaning Max seduced and manipulated his own half-sister.
Yes. The psychology of sibling enmeshment in deeply isolated, abusive households often leads to these profoundly blurred boundaries. Max got his sister pregnant, and then, completely disregarding the destruction he caused, he started playing happy family with Melissa.
So Crystal snapped.
Crystal, driven completely mad by jealousy, betrayal, and the toxic enmeshment with her brother, murdered Melissa. Crystal killed her because she believed Melissa was an outsider who didn't deserve that life.
Which means,
Right.
this entire time, Max Cady has actually been innocent of this specific murder he served 17 years for.
Legally speaking, yes, he is innocent of the murder of his wife. Now, he is still a monster. He abused his sister, he manipulated Amy into a false confession and subsequent suicide, and he has terrorized the Bowden family. But under the strict letter of the law, he did not wield the weapon that killed Melissa. Crystal did.
Oh my God. And then there's the baby. The baby with the prominent scar in the photo. When my brain finally made this connection, I had to stand up and literally pace around my living room.
It's a heavy realization.
The scarred baby in that old photograph is Luke, the weird dog-walking kid who lives at Robert's house, which makes Luke the incestuous product of Max and his half-sister Crystal.
It is an incredibly bleak family tree.
Bleak. It's not a tree, it's a wreath. The branches just circle back onto themselves. The generational sickness is layered so deep. Every single person in this narrative needs intensive, decades-long trauma therapy and a mandatory court-ordered DNA test.
It is the ultimate manifestation of the Southern Gothic rot we discussed earlier. The sins of the father are literally bred into the next generation. But, while Anna is unearthing this dark family secret in the swamps of North Carolina, the situation is rapidly deteriorating for her husband back home.
Oh, Tom. Sweet, wealthy, completely out of his depth, Tom.
We need to unpack Tom's legal strategy here because for a man who made his career as a hotshot prosecutor, he is remarkably incompetent at navigating the criminal justice system from the other side of the table.
He is making the worst possible choices at every single turn. Like he is embarrassing himself.
Let's lay out the facts. Tom is currently incarcerated, suspected of murdering Ray Rollins. Now, Tom possesses 2 firearms, the gun that was actually used to shoot Ray, and a clean, unfired gun. Investigators demand he turn over his weapon for ballistics testing. What does Tom do?
He hands over the clean gun. He actually thinks he's outsmarting them.
It is a spectacular failure of legal logic. By handing over the clean gun, he is attempting spoliation of evidence. When ballistics inevitably prove that the clean gun doesn't match the bullet in Ray's body, the police will instantly know Tom actively lied and tried to hide the real weapon.
Right, because why would you hide it if you were innocent?
Exactly. In legal terms, this establishes mens rea, which is a guilty mind. It proves consciousness of guilt. It is the single most incriminating action he could have possibly taken.
He completely panicked. Tom is a rich, privileged lawyer who is used to wielding the justice system as a weapon against other people. He has always operated from a position of absolute power. The second he is stripped of that power and put in the hot seat, his logical brain completely short-circuits. He reverts to sheer panic.
And Max Cady understands this vulnerability perfectly. Max isn't just physically intimidating, he is a master of psychological warfare. He knows how to dismantle a person's psyche piece by piece.
He really does.
Max manages to use his network to have a Nokia burner phone and a makeshift noose woven from bedsheets delivered directly into Tom's prison cell.
The visual of that fluffy white bedsheet noose sitting perfectly coiled on the metal cot is so deeply menacing. It's a literal invitation to end it all.
Max calls Tom on that burner phone and lays out his ultimatum cleanly. Hang yourself right now and I will spare your children.
It is an act of profound, surgical, emotional cruelty. Max isn't just threatening him. He is specifically weaponizing Tom's deepest, most unresolved trauma. Yes. We learned earlier in the season that Tom's brother died by suicide. Max discovered this vulnerability and is now forcing Tom to recreate the exact trauma that shattered his family, using Tom's love for his kids as the lever to force his hand.
It is diabolical. And to add insult to injury, Max uses the phone call to deliver a little prison hack. He casually explains to Tom that if you mix soy sauce and mayonnaise from the commissary, it creates a sauce that makes the terrible prison foods somewhat edible.
That detail made me physically sick to my stomach. It is so condescending. Here's a recipe for mayo and soy sauce while you hold a noose.
It is a deliberate tactic of sociological degradation. Max is twisting the knife. He is essentially telling Tom, you are one of us now. You have been stripped of your upper-class privilege, your beautiful Savannah home, your prestigious status.
Welcome to the bottom.
You are reduced to mixing cheap condiments just to survive in a concrete cage, exactly like I had to do for 17 years. He is forcing Tom to internalize his new identity as an inmate.
The best way I can describe Max in this moment. Think of the most toxic, manipulative person you have ever encountered.
We all know one.
Right. The kind of person who doesn't just want to win an argument and walk away. They want to systematically use your deepest, darkest insecurities, the private things you confess to them in absolute confidence, to make you believe you fundamentally deserve the pain they are inflicting on you.
Yes.
They want to destroy your psychological foundation so thoroughly that you agree with their assessment of your worthlessness. That is exactly what Max is doing to Tom.
That is an incredibly accurate psychological profile of what's happening. Max wants the Bowdens to destroy themselves from the inside out, which transitions us perfectly to the juvenile detention center, where Max's influence is wreaking havoc on the next generation.
Oh my gosh, the juvie storyline in this episode was an absolute roller coaster. We have the Bowden's daughter, Natalie, locked up in the facility, and her cellmate is Neva, who we know is secretly Angel X, Max's young, manipulative accomplice.
Right, and Natalie finally pieces together that Neva has been working with Max, which leads to a massive, violent, physical altercation in the cell.
But the fight instantly turns into a chaotic hookup. I could not believe what I was watching.
It was a very fast pivot.
It is the most accelerated, messy pipeline from physical violence to intimacy I've ever seen on television, and it happens on a sterile jail cell cot. Like, what is happening?
It is certainly a jarring tonal shift, but there is actual psychological precedent for this.
Seriously,
Yeah.
you're going to justify this.
I am. In high-stress, dangerous environments, the physiological response to fear and anger, elevated heart rate, adrenaline release, rapid breathing is nearly identical to the physiological response of sexual arousal. This is known in psychology as the misattribution of arousal.
Misattribution of arousal, okay.
Famously demonstrated in the Capilano suspension bridge experiment, where subjects confuse the fear of being on a dangerous bridge with attraction to the researcher. The lines between violence and intimacy blur incredibly easily under extreme duress.
Okay, that makes it slightly less insane, but only slightly. Because immediately after this intense physical encounter, Nova just lies back and casually spills all of her darkest secrets.
The post-coital confession. She is completely dead-eyed and clinical in her delivery.
She admits to absolutely everything. She confirms she was the one who broke into the Bowden family home weeks ago, and she confirms she dosed their tea with scopolamine, otherwise known as devil's breath.
Scopolamine is a terrifying substance, and we really need to understand its pharmacology to grasp how dangerous Nova's actions were.
Break it down for me.
It is a tropane alkaloid drug derived from plants in the nightshade family, prominently found in the borrachero tree in Colombia. When ingested or inhaled, it rapidly crosses the blood-brain barrier and blocks acetylcholine receptors.
And what does blocking those receptors actually do to a person in real life?
It completely disrupts the parasympathetic nervous system. It shuts down the amygdala, inhibiting the brain's ability to process threats, and it severely impairs the hippocampus, which is responsible for forming new memories.
So they just forget everything.
The result is a zombie-like state. The victim remains conscious and can hold conversations, but they lose all free will. They become highly suggestible and will obey almost any command given to them, with no memory of the event afterward.
Which is how she used it to completely destroy Zach. She admits that the chemical dosing is what caused Zach's severe psychotic break. It wasn't just a natural deterioration of his mental health. She chemically induced a delirium that led to him literally biting off his own toe.
The biomechanics of self-mutilation under delirium are horrifying. To bite through human flesh, tendon, and bone requires overriding the body's deeply ingrained pain inhibition reflexes. The scopolamine suppressed Zach's pain receptors and his logical processing, allowing him to commit an act of extreme self-harm.
And Navarro reveals that this is all part of Max's sick endgame. Max ordered Navarro to get close to Natalie in juvie and murder her right there in the facility.
Max's motivation is rooted in absolute retribution. He wants Anna to feel the exact, specific agony of losing a child, mirroring what he believes was taken from him.
But this is where I have to stand up and loudly applaud Natalie.
She executes a brilliant countermaneuver.
Throughout the entire season, Natalie has been reactive. She's been a victim, easily manipulated by older, darker forces. But in this cell, she makes a highly calculated strategic play. She didn't sleep with Nova out of genuine affection or trauma-bonded confusion.
She was playing the long game.
Yes. She slept with her specifically to lure Nova's guard, wait for her to fall asleep, and steal the hidden burner phone,
which Nova had hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. The thematic irony of using a book about social manipulation to hide the tool of actual criminal manipulation is just perfect.
It is brilliant writing. Natalie secures the evidence, and she finally gets bailed out by Noah. And can we just take a brief moment to appreciate Noah?
She's the best.
She is the absolute MVP of this show. She seems to be the only character operating with a fully developed, functioning prefrontal cortex. Earlier in the episode, Max shows up unannounced at her office to intimidate her, and she bravely stands her ground. She doesn't flinch.
She refuses to be intimidated, which makes her a massive liability to Max's overarching plan. But while Natalie is securing this crucial digital evidence, the situation in North Carolina completely devolves into physical bedlam. Let's return to the houseboat for the climax of the episode.
Okay, so Anna is cornered on the boat with Crystal. Suddenly, Robert and Luke arrive at the docks. Anna realizes she is outgunned and outmanned, so she decides to go nuclear.
The daddy bomb.
She looks directly at Luke and drops the ultimate truth bomb. She tells him that Max is not just his uncle, he is his biological father.
It is a desperate, highly volatile psychological tactic designed to create a distraction, and it is overwhelmingly effective.
It creates absolute chaos. Luke's entire understanding of his identity shatters in an instant, and he completely snaps. He physically attacks his grandfather, Robert. In the confusion, Crystal lunges at Anna, and this is the part that made me physically look away from the screen. Crystal stabs Anna straight through the hand with a fish knife.
A fish knife is a very specific, incredibly sharp tool designed to pierce tough scales and gut flesh efficiently. The visceral horror of that injury is intense. Functionally, a stab one straight through the palm risks severing the median or ulnar nerves, as well as the flexor tendons. That hand would be instantly paralyzed by pain and biomechanically useless.
It is so gnarly to watch.
Mm.
But adrenaline takes over. Anna manages to grab a heavy bottle of cleaning spray with her good hand, sprays Crystal directly in the eyes to blind her, pulls the knife out of her own flesh, and runs for the deck.
And with nowhere else to go, she dives into the dark, rushing, terrifying waters of the Cape Fear River, just as Max Cady's car pulls up to the dock.
It is an incredible cliffhanger. Max arrives to find his family bleeding and violently turning on each other on a boat, and Anna is swimming for her life in the pitch-black water.
But the writers drop one final puzzle piece right before the credits roll. Tom, still sitting in his prison cell staring at the bedsheet noose, gets an emergency phone call. Zach has escaped the psychiatric facility.
Which immediately sent my heart rate through the roof. How did he escape? Did he break out on his own? Is he lucid? Or did Max take him?
Yeah.
Is Zach currently sitting in the trunk of the car Max just parked at the dock?
It leaves every single character in a state of maximum physical and psychological jeopardy heading into the finale. Which brings us to the point where we need to synthesize all of this chaos. Let's move into our segments and look at what actually matters here and try to predict where this is going.
Okay. Segment 1. Biggest chill of the night. We've talked about the creepiest, most chilling moment of the entire episode. The moment that fundamentally unsettled us the most. I know exactly what my choice is, and I will aggressively defend it.
I have a strong feeling you're going to choose the imagery in the caddy house.
You are absolutely right. The most chilling moment of the night, without question, is Hester Cady breastfeeding the doll. Nothing else comes close to that level of primal discomfort.
It is certainly the strongest visual shock of the episode.
It's way more than just shock value, though. It is terrifying on a deeply psychological level. You walk into this dark, musty southern home expecting to find answers, expecting to find the root of Max's evil. And instead, you find a matriarch cradling plastic and treating it like flesh and blood.
It's very disturbing.
It proves that the madness didn't start with Max. It's in the foundation of the house. Max is just the most violent, outward-facing symptom of a disease that has been rotting this family for decades. When she looked up and spoke to the doll as if it were a living infant, I literally had to pause the TV and go stand in my brightly lit kitchen for a few minutes just to shake off the dread.
I will concede that the execution of that Southern Gothic trope was masterful. But for me, the most chilling moment wasn't visual, it was entirely psychological. My choice is Navee's dead-eyed confession to Natalie about using the scopolamine.
Oh, the devil's breath.
Yes. When she is sitting on that cot and she clinically explains how she pushed Zach to chemically induce self-mutilation, the way she details him biting off his own toe, there is zero remorse in her voice. There's no empathy. There's just a terrifyingly blank, hollow execution of orders.
She was like a robot.
It demonstrates a level of psychopathy and emotional detachment that might actually exceed Max himself. Max acts out of a twisted, burning sense of passion and revenge. Navee acts out of cold, empty obedience. Seeing that level of calculated coldness in a teenager is profoundly chilling.
I see your point. It is deeply disturbing. We are essentially debating what is worse: unhinged, generational madness, or cold, clinical, sociopathic manipulation.
They target different primal fears. One is the fear of decay and losing your mind. The other is the fear of the unknown predator sitting right next to you, pretending to be your friend.
Both of which are terrible options. Okay, moving on to segment 2. Detective's desk. Let's pivot and look at the actual evidence left on the board. We need to break down the clues that matter and figure out what our leading theories are before the finale.
The most critical piece of physical evidence right now is the USB drive Anna stole from the exposition box on the boat. That drive allegedly contains the audio recordings of Max forcing Amy to kill herself. It is the silver bullet. It proves Max's ongoing criminality, manipulation, and direct involvement in a death.
It's the smoking gun that can put him away forever.
It is. But we have to address the glaring logistical issue here. Anna put that USB drive in her pocket, and then she jumped into a river.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about the water damage.
She fully submerged it in the rushing waters of the Cape Fear River. Is the water going to ruin the digital evidence? Standard flash drives are not waterproof. They use NAND flash memory, which is solid state, meaning there are no moving parts.
Can it be safe?
If there is no live current running through the drive when it gets wet, The data can sometimes survive if the drive is thoroughly dried and cleaned with isopropyl alcohol before being plugged in. But if the river water is highly corrosive or salty, the metallic contacts could degrade rapidly.
If the finale includes a scene where Anna has to put the crucial piece of evidence in a bowl of dry rice to save her family, I'm going to lose my mind. But you're right, she risked destroying the most important artifact in the case.
It was a massive tactical risk born of desperation. The next critical variable we need to analyze is the missing Zach.
This is the piece that is making my brain spin. Where is he?
The timeline is ambiguous. We know Max was casing the psychiatric facility, but we also know Max drove all the way to North Carolina. It's geographically difficult for him to have Zach in the trunk, but not impossible if he grabbed him before heading north.
If Zach escaped on his own, is he lucid? Did the effects of the devil's breath finally wear off, and now he's out there in the world trying to find his family to protect them? Or is he fully brainwashed and operating as a sleeper agent for Max? Because if Max has Zach under his control, the Bowdens have absolutely zero leverage left.
From an investigative standpoint, the quickest way to resolve these questions would be to exploit the digital trail. If I were advising the prosecution, I would immediately take the burner phone Natalie stole from the Vey, and I would subpoena the GPS and cell tower ping data.
Smart.
That phone has been communicating directly with Max. It holds a digital map of his locations, his safe houses, and his exact timeline. That phone is the key to proving the conspiracy and locating Zach.
Logic always prevails with you. Okay, segment 3. Red string theory board. I want to take all these clues, motives, and timelines, and I want to connect them. Let's lay out our working theories for the endgame. I'll share mine first.
Let's hear it. Who is really pulling the strings here?
I am focusing entirely on Crystal. My working theory is that Crystal is nowhere near as unstable or oblivious as she pretends to be. I think she purposefully let Anna find all that evidence in the trailer.
Purposefully orchestrating her own exposure. That's a bold claim.
Think about the psychology of her character. Crystal wants Max all to herself, right? She has this toxic, obsessive attachment to him, but she also hates that he controls every aspect of her life. And more importantly, she wants her son, Luke, all to herself, without Max's dark shadow constantly looming over them.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think Crystal wants Anna to take out Max. She led Anna to the scrapbook, hoping Anna would use those clues to destroy Max legally or physically. If Max is out of the picture, Crystal is left in the clear to play happy family with her son. She's playing the fool while orchestrating a hit on her own brother by proxy.
That's a fascinating theory. You're suggesting Crystal is pulling a Keyser-Söze maneuver. I like the psychological framework of it, but I disagree with the conclusion. I think you are underestimating Max.
Challenge it. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I believe Max's grand design isn't about Crystal at all. Crystal is a loose end, a byproduct of his past that he barely tolerates. Max's entire overarching motivation is forcing the Bowden family to destroy themselves.
But he's actively trying to kill them, isn't he?
No, killing them is too easy. A bullet is quick. He wants moral and psychological destruction. Look at his methods. He wants Tom to hang himself in a cell, cementing his legacy as a coward who abandoned his children. He wanted Miena to kill Natalie, yes, but look at the unintended consequence.
What consequence?
He manipulated Natalie into becoming a manipulator herself. Natalie used Neva, slept with her under false pretenses, and betrayed her to get the phone. Max is systematically turning the Bowdens into monsters. He wants them to look in the mirror and realize they are just as corrupt, violent, and manipulative as he is. His endgame is absolute moral bankruptcy.
Wow. Okay, that is incredibly dark, but it tracks perfectly with every psychological torture tactic he has used so far. He wants them to become him.
Precisely. Now, looking ahead to the finale, we need to address segment 4, what happens next, the biggest unanswered questions and what we predict will happen.
The biggest unanswered question for me revolves around the paternity bombshell. Does Max actually know that Luke is his son? Or has Crystal managed to successfully hide this massive secret from a master manipulator for 17 years?
If Max, a man who is deeply obsessed with legacy, control, and family bloodlines, finds out that he has a living son who was kept hidden from him by his own sister, his reaction will be apocalyptic.
It's terrifying to imagine. If he doesn't know, and he walks onto that boat right as the chaos is unfolding and figures it out, nobody on that dock is surviving.
Which leads directly into my prediction for the finale. I predict a massive, violently escalating showdown, but I do not think it will happen on the river in North Carolina. I think the narrative structure demands that they return to the Bowdens' home in Savannah.
Really? You think they're going all the way back to the house?
Yes. It perfectly mirrors the climax of the original Cape Fear films, bringing the terror out of the wild and back into the domestic space, violating the ultimate sanctuary. I believe Max intercepted Zach, and he will use the boy as bait to lure Anna and Tom out of hiding and back to their own home for a final theatrical confrontation.
Hey, how much narrative sense that makes. Returning to the scene of the original crime. Okay, I have one final, completely wild theory that I cannot let go of. It sounds unhinged, but bear with me.
I am bracing myself. Let's hear the wild theory.
What if Zach, still suffering the residual mind-altering effects of the devil's breath, completely detached from reality, is actually the one who takes down Max?
Zach, the teenager who is currently missing a digit on his foot.
Yes. Think about it. Zach goes full feral. He embraces the madness and the psychosis that Max infected him with, and he uses it against him. Zach becomes the very monster Max tried to create, and he saves his parents by doing something completely brutal, unpredictable, and unhinged to Max. He goes feral ninja in the woods.
Feral ninja. From a strictly biomechanical standpoint, Zach is missing his big toe. The big toe provides roughly 40% of the foot's load-bearing capacity during the push-off phase of walking or running. His center of balance and proprioception are fundamentally compromised. So, feral ninja roundhouse kicks are physically impossible. However,
You agree with me.
thematically, it works beautifully. Max creating the exact instrument of his own destruction by pushing a fragile kid too far into the darkness. It is poetic justice. It is highly improbable medically, but narratively, it is a perfect closed loop.
I am clinging to it. Feral Zach for the win. Thematically, it's the payoff we deserve.
Regardless of who delivers the final blow, it is going to be a psychological and physical bloodbath.
It really is. And we have analyzed every single angle, every legal misstep, and every psychological breakdown. Now, we want to hear from you, Snark Squad.
As you process everything we've unpacked tonight, we want to leave you with a few questions to consider before the finale drops.
What unhinged theory are you clinging to? Do you think Crystal is the secret mastermind? Or is Max pulling every single string? Do you think Zach is going to be the one to save the day?
Consider which moment truly unsettled you more. The visceral body horror of a fish knife through the hand, or the quiet psychological decay of a woman nursing a plastic doll in a dark room.
And finally, the ultimate survival question. Would you rather spend one night completely alone in the Cady family house, or try to solve a complex murder mystery with Tom Bowden as your lead investigator?
It is a brutal choice between enduring a haunted house or suffering through sheer legal incompetence.
Oh, I would take the haunted house in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
At least with the Cady family, I know exactly what kind of badness I'm dealing with. Tom would accidentally hand the police a murder weapon with my fingerprints on it in the first 20 minutes.
He absolutely would. He would seal your fate while trying to save you.
Babes, thank you so much for diving deep into this paranoia with us tonight. This material is heavy, it's dark, and it requires a lot of processing. So make sure you subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.
And share the pod with another true crime-loving bestie who understands the importance of locking their doors.
Exactly. The next time you find yourself wandering down the seasonal aisle at a big box store, or you hear a floorboard creak upstairs, just remember, paranoia is often just your survival instincts trying to keep you one step ahead of the dark. Lock your doors, trust your instincts, and we will see you on the snark side.